My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubois. And have you ever wondered how a couple juggling full-time jobs, parenthood, and an uncharted real estate market turned a 3-unit venture into a 47-unit success story? Well, today, my guests, Valeria and Michael Stoller from Montreal, are here to share their secrets to scaling a real estate empire while navigating the complexities of life. Valeria and Michael, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So let's go right to the beginning. What got you excited? What got you into real estate? Because a lot of people can go their whole lives and just maybe never buy anything. So what got you into it to start?
I think what got me into it was, right out of school, I got a job. I'm an engineer by trade. Then after 1 or 2 years, my boss was giving me pretty crummy raises. So I thought to myself, I'm never, it's going to be really long before I get anywhere. So I have to do something. And what could I do kind of at the same time as having a full-time job? So it has to be semi-passive. And that's where I got the idea of real estate, being able to invest in something locally and kind of make improvements on it and, make it pay over medium long term.
Yeah, something you can do at the same time and, be a little bit more in control of your destiny. And how about you?
So I initially met Michael. He had just purchased his first duplex, and I sort of ventured with him on this idea that real estate would be really good in terms of passive income. So I trusted him like I trusted any other financial decision he ever decided to make. And I only really realized how important real estate was as passive income when we purchased our first single home. And we didn't realize, when we had the duplex, we had difficulties. So this was before we joined any sort of real estate groups. We had difficulties sort of understanding like how to refinance. We didn't know about that. So we sold that property. We ended up getting a single family home. And as you know, interest rates came up sky high, and we were struggling. A house, I really think is for me an investment. It's a big money pit, right? There's a lot of capital expenditures you can't sort of write off. And so that for me at that point, I'm like, we got to continue to do real estate. And then we found ourselves, doing real estate, becoming passive investors, and then eventually falling into this deal.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting too is like houses can be money pits, especially single family, but I think it all just depends on why. It's kind of like what Michael was saying. It's like, how do I get out while still being in the business of real estate? You have to somehow, pay the bills, and real estate, especially cash flow and passive income, doesn't typically pay the bills. So, but it is a way to, start planning an exit to working, because a lot of people are counting on their pensions and their retirements to get out, and they might be surprised that it's not quite what they are expecting it to be. And that's, I think, why a lot of people end up in real estate. So how did you guys end up in this 3-unit venture to this 47-unit sort of business that you're in now?
Well, the duplexes, and we did a conversion to triplex like twice. That was, like Val mentioned, we just did it on our own. We didn't, think about management. We did everything ourselves, and it was all local, so we'd only look locally. And then well, now the way the Montreal market is, and plus, getting better at underwriting would actually make sense. Uh, it kind of pushes us to look further out. And
Mm-hmm.
then through our kind of exploration of different markets, uh, we came pretty close on another deal that actually the seller backed out of, also Newfoundland. So then we had made a couple contacts with agents, and then they found this off-market deal, which ended up being a portfolio deal that we're in now.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I've had a lot of people that I've talked to out of Quebec, and it doesn't, I don't know what it is. No one's been able to necessarily like tell me why, but real estate in Quebec is like investing in Quebec is difficult. Why is that though?
Well,
Cap rates don't make sense.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like too expensive
any
to buy versus the rent.
well, not
Correct.
only that, but let's say it is too expensive to buy versus the rent. The rent controls are extremely favorable towards a tenant.
So you
So
could end up
it's hard to
costing.
like you can't turn a place around. So even if a place is underperforming and you could manage to get a good deal, a lot of people, the old philosophy, I guess, for a lot of people is like, oh, I have a good tenant. I don't want to upset them. I'm never going to raise their rent for 20 years. And then when you buy that place, you have a 20-year-old rent and you can't really do much about it because of the way it's set up in Quebec. So it's kind of a combination of
Mindset,
factors. Yeah.
combination rent control, combination cost of living type thing. Because there's
Yeah,
a lot of
exactly.
people from Ontario
Hmm.
as well, even across Canada, they're looking to invest in the East Coast simply on the numbers. They look at the numbers and the rent control and they're like, sounds good to me. I can't get my tenant out and I can't buy a, a garage door for what I'm paying for this building. So I might as well invest out of my market because it really the numbers make, even if I have to fly there once or twice to figure it out, still makes far more sense than investing in my backyard. So
Oh,
how are you guys
100%.
how are you guys navigating the business of owning property at a distance?
Well, we've established some pretty good boots on the ground there in Newfoundland, which is great. Through our realtor, Michael had the opportunity to walk the property in Newfoundland, and one of our partners has already established some revenue properties there. He already has a property manager he recommended, and she's great. She has about 250 doors. She constantly reaches out to us. She was very keen on helping us out in every aspect of the due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
So we feel like we have good boots on the ground there.
Yeah, that's important. Someone to
Yeah.
actually like collect the rent.
Hmm.
People when they're in town, they have a tendency to like drive by their unit. They go out for dinner and then they're like, I'm just
Right.
gonna take a little detour and see if there's still that mattress hanging out behind the house. It's like, how much energy does having properties in town versus out of town? As someone who's had properties in town and now out of town, what are some like pros and cons that you guys are seeing of remote versus being able to touch it?
Well, in town, especially starting out, and when the prices were a bit more reasonable, you could do a lot of work yourself. So I did learn a lot of like the trades aspect and managing kind of the renovations and the lift side of things. So that knowledge for sure is valuable to, it helps you when you're working with contractors more from afar. So I think that's a big pro, being able to do some stuff yourself. A con would be, people get trapped in. They never want to move to get it managed. So
Mm-hmm.
I think scalability is a problem. People are like, oh, I'm so busy with however,
The
you know,
two
my,
doors I have now,
yeah,
the two
exactly. So
duplexes I
how
have
can I
now.
ever, exactly, how can I ever get more units?
Mm-hmm.
So then learning how to, manage your manager and have boots on the ground people do a lot of the work for you, but still having the knowledge to kind of know what's going on yourself. I think that's, a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's this one investor couple, and what they did is they were in town, but they wanted to move out of town. So they started practicing the 1,000 mile mindset, which is like, if I don't have to, I'm not going there. So they pretended they didn't actually live in that city. When they'd get tenant calls, they're like, call the manager, call someone to manage it, and they would avoid their properties. And now they've been able to now they live in Hawaii. So it must have worked for them, right? They were able
Wow.
to exit their 1,000 unit portfolio in town because they were going, like you're saying, they were going to properties and fixing them up and collecting rents. And eventually they're like, well, this is not scalable, sustainable. How do we
Mm-hmm.
get out?
Mm-hmm.
While practicing the 1,000 mile mindset, which is, even if you're in town, you're not in town. You're always 1,000 miles away. So make your decisions that way. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So I've started adopting a lot of that too. When you look at your real estate so far, how are you guys balancing um, the parenthood side of things? You know, kids are demanding, real estate is demanding, jobs are demanding. You have all three of them, correct?
That's right.
Yeah,
I,
it's
I think
not
it's
easy.
yeah, well, it's good I think it's good that we're both into the real estate too, because then if someone has a meeting at work, or we could kind of divide and conquer better than if you're trying to do real estate by yourself without your partner. So
Mm-hmm.
I never tried to do that. Val, like you said, she's been on board with me from the beginning, but I would imagine that if it's just you, and then you know you would have to delegate to your partner a lot, and but it's easy to have the understanding when you're both in it. Oh, you both have a job, you both have demands from family and real estate and job.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier. We have a good understanding of each other's situation because we're kind of in the same boat, and then we could split the tasks well. And I think overall, it's you know, I'd be I'm pretty pleased with how it's going so far.
Nice.
Yeah, and I feel like with Michael, it's our relationship works a lot better as a team, like when we're working on a common project. So
Mm-hmm.
I really feel and our views are there and our values are very much aligned. So it really helps in terms of the dynamic between us two and it stimulates communication, right? Because we have to be super organized as well. So even though we don't want to speak to each other, we have to kind of thing.
I'm still upset you didn't take the garbage out, but the cash flow report is on the table, so let's sit down and talk about
Yeah,
it.
Right,
that's
exactly.
it. That's it.
Bryce, you're
So,
wise.
um, when it comes to real estate, there's usually an unfair advantage. What would you say comes easy to you guys that other people might find difficult to do?
I love to socialize and meet new people, and I have this thing where I glance at Facebook and I'm viewing people's posts, and some phrase that they write in their post that resonates with me, and like I have this sort of picturesque photo, like a photo memory, and when I meet them in person or when I chat, I'll say, hey, I remember you posted about that, or how did that deal go, and somehow that stimulates the conversation, and I really like talking about real estate, and I like to get to know people, and I think that's from my background in health, and I've been accustomed to sort of that, like the social butterfly skill kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's
Yeah,
the so she takes it from there. What would you say, Michael, is your thing, the trade side, managing people? What
the
is it
trade
that
stuff, and also I guess
Leadership. Leadership.
yeah,
We show a lot
but
of
being
leadership.
being in work a lot, and also an engineer helps with the numbers side of things. So the underwriting, basically the understanding of a project, because at work I'm involved also with project management. So managing projects and the number crunching side of things.
Making
I
it
would say,
happen.
yeah,
So you guys have the power couple, remembering everything that people post on Facebook and managing projects. That's how you get it done.
yeah,
So,
But it has to be genuine. It has to be genuine. It
of
has to
course, yeah.
flow because you're meeting tons of people, right? And tons of people are reaching out. So you got to remember all that, right? So it has to come.
So, what are you guys doing to fund your deals these days?
Well, we're reaching out. We're trying different things. Capital raising was a big challenge for us. It was affecting my sleep. I was getting really anxious.
Mm-hmm.
There was a part where, like, I didn't know if we can actually, close this deal. And I remember turning to Michael and saying, like, I'm with you no matter like how this ends. I'm doing it. But I found like just taking action, like the more anxious I was, the more I didn't do anything, the worse it was. So taking like little steps, calling up people, but not necessarily having to talk about real estate. Yeah, it was. Some of the calls were, but just talking to me was like, okay, I've done my best. This is the amount of people I reached out to today. And for me, just action taking was the best thing that I did for my anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and luckily it managed to work because right now we have enough funds to close the deal, which is more than I ever expected, and I'm very grateful for sure.
Yeah. Capital raising under the gun is not, I wouldn't prescribe that to anyone. You're like, hey, how about you
Right?
spend the next 45 days not sleeping much and calling everyone you know to try to find capital. There's
Yeah.
definitely ways to do it that aren't necessarily like calling everyone up, but I wouldn't wish that upon too many people because the anxiety I think is the biggest one. Like, am I going to be able to pull it off? Do I know enough people? Do the people I know enough people? And it just starts to spiral, and it will cause you to lose sleep. You get to the end of your list or what you think is the end of your list, and yeah, it can be difficult. So let's talk a little bit about that whole list side of things. What's one of your strategies to access the money from um the list that you already have, like your existing connections? What's one way that you found to be kind of successful? Because as an engineer, Michael, you probably know a few people who have a little bit of RRSP money kicking around.
yeah, for sure. The unfortunate part is that we're using we're using like a normal lender for this deal, so we can't close with RSP. We couldn't take any registered funds. So that was really unfortunate about this deal.
Mm,
So yeah, we had to say no to a few people, and that's it. But it's like you said, what you think is the end of your list. So first you try reaching out, but then you talk to a few more people. Some people that come on, they really believe in the project. They say, oh, they know someone. So
and it starts to roll
basically,
that way. Yeah.
yeah, it starts rolling, and then you end up meeting a lot of people that you didn't even know at the beginning of the project. I think that's really where the network building
Yeah, and the exposure is
comes in.
key.
Yeah,
The
Mm-hmm.
exposure is key. I had enlisted in a mastermind in real estate,
Mm-hmm.
where they forecast your deal and they go under the underwriting, and it worked out really well because they ended up seeing how much equity is there for the investors, and they ended up vouching for the deal.
Mm-hmm.
So we did we spoke about our deal a lot, and we're part of some real estate groups that are have been very supportive, and that is a perfect place to sort of talk about your deal. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was
Because
one
that's
of the
one
ways.
thing. The next question really was, how are you guys expanding your network of prospective investors as far as, so you're into some Facebook groups, some
You
different
go out.
yeah,
networking.
yeah.
What
You're
are some
going
other
out.
ways, some offline things? What are you doing as far as like networking events or seminars, things like that?
A bit of everything. We're doing a lot of networking, like we go to a lot of real estate events. In Montreal, we often travel to Ontario, whether
Mm-hmm.
there's any sort of meetups with real estate investors, we're sure to be there. Um, just being active on social media, I think, is very important. So it's a mix of everything, I think, and I got a potential investor, didn't end up working out, but I was getting some insurance quotes on the phone, and they stopped and they're like, "Oh, what's happening? How come you're getting insurance quotes on the phone?" So, and I spoke about the multifamily deal, and then they wanted to know more, and then we booked a call, and unfortunately it didn't pan out. But like those are sort of conversations that people over here, they get curious, they want to know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way.
All right. So let's talk about the mindset here. Are you guys find the deal and then get the money, or do you prefer to get the money lined up and then go looking for deals?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I think this time we definitely did the find the deal, get the money
Yeah.
strategy. We'll have to consider the other one in the future. It sounds less stressful,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
a
and I
little bit.
think that this is our first kind of big deal like this. So our track record will be, we're building our our track record here. So I think it'll be easier in the future, once you've done your first one and you have more of a reputation, that maybe people would
Mm-hmm.
feel more comfortable investing in you.
Oh,
Because a
definitely.
lot of the investors all want to, like, they all want to see the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Or they
to
want
do
to
the
see
other
that
way
you've
around,
done, they want to see that you've like done the deal, or know that
yeah,
you can do the deal. So
right.
that's not, like sometimes you can bring the power team together and, that you can leverage the power team. But I think really it comes down to the presentation. So when you guys are doing your presentation to these investors, as you've probably had to do a few, you know, pitching the deal, how do you go about that? Well, as far as the flow or the process, tell me a little bit more about that for the pitch deck and how you present these things to your investors. Let's say someone says, "Yeah, I'm interested." Then what?
Right.
Walk me through how that goes.
So
Well,
obvious,
I
yeah.
think at first, yeah, probably what I was gonna say was like, there's a big part, and that's really one of the Val's strengths, is to get to know the investor and what are they looking for, and you know, to see if it could even work, and then after get more down into the deal. See if someone's interested even on working on something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of build your relationship, because your partners or your investors, it should, we try to have it as a longer term relationship, not a one and done. Okay, we did this deal now.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, if you, let's say, refinance someone out or pay back private lending, that they should want to invest again with you, in the future. So that's a good part of that, I think, comes from getting to know someone a little personally, and then you could talk more about then we go through the deck,
Mm-hmm.
not down to every little granular number, but a general perspective
Of what it's all about.
of what it's all about. See if someone likes this kind of deal. If someone wants to, let's say for this one, invest in Newfoundland because it's a bit more of an unknown market, than
Mm-hmm.
you say Edmonton, you say like New Brunswick. Those are,
Yeah,
yeah.
people like in Alberta probably have no idea where you're like, oh, it's a small town in Newfoundland. They're like, isn't everything in Newfoundland a small town? No offense to people in Newfoundland, but I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You're like investing. It's almost like the product. It has to be a product more than a place, because this, and what we've found, when Dave is working and
Hmm.
with people to like raise capital, what we found is it's not about the place or the deal. The deal is actually you guys. So at the end of the day, for people to invest significant amounts of capital with you, They need to know, like, and ultimately trust you. So what are you guys doing to kind of build those sort of things? Whether it be social media or in person, how do you let people know what you guys are all about?
You know, Bryce, like honestly, you like these questions are just like they're really good, and like like reflecting on that, I just think like I just start to talk and get to know the other person. And and at that, like when you know what their goals are, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot easier to like, right? Like they're a real estate investor. Their goals is to invest in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And you know you ask them the questions that hopefully you can meet those goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being sincere about that, like right, like a novice investor who's looking at just RRSPs, you know, to invest in this deal, well, I'm gonna guide her, like not, you know, I'm gonna say, look, you know, I'll be honest, we're not looking for RSPs, but you know, and you get to answer all her questions, you offer support, you do follow-up calls,
Mm-hmm.
even though she's not necessarily interested in the deal, but just a way of like, oh, I've been there, done that, I'll help you out, you know, I'll give you a hand. Like we've been passive investors for people's deals, you know, and I'm a true believer in like, you know, you give a hand and they'll give a hand back, you know, so it's like a lot of give and take. And so I believe in paying it forward, and I think that's helped us out in this situation for sure. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a science. I don't think I've got it down. A part of me feels really lucky to be at the situation that I am now. Um, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to answer that question. It's a really good question. Multiple
Hard work and
factors, I guess.
determination. Yeah, hard work and
Absolutely.
determination seems to be the answer. So, if people want to connect with you guys, they want to invest in your projects and see what you're, what you guys are working on. How do they find you? What should they do? How do they connect with you guys?
The Facebook.
Yeah, mine's Facebook, just my name, Michael Stoller. There's not too many. I'm the one on the canoe.
You're the one on the canoe. There you go. That's the
Yeah.
way to do it on Facebook. That's why you'll notice a lot of real estate investors, about 95% of the people who come on the podcast, they use Instagram because it's like at Michael Stoller. No one can have that, but you put in like Mike Smith and it's like I'm the one on the canoe. That's the thing about Facebook that's really tough. I mean, my name, pretty easy.
Yeah,
There's not that many Bryce Kaminskis out there, but there might
right.
be one or two Michael Stollers in
Well,
this big
I
world out
think my
there.
Instagram is, I don't use it too much and I should get better with it. It's at Stoller515.
There you go.
So,
You can probably
yeah.
find them on there too. So, yeah, I really appreciate you guys stopping by, and it's super exciting. When you start really scaling up, and I wish you guys the best of luck scaling into uncharted territories in the East Coast and beyond, guys.
Thank you so much, Bryce.
Yeah,
You as
no
well.
problem.
Best
Well,
of luck to you.
I don't need luck when I've got the Property Profits podcast, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.